What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back, everyone. Bear down time. Karl, how you feeling, man?
Real good, man. Real good.
Karl and I have decided to do a limited edition series. It is exactly 12 weeks from today to the 2025 NFL Draft, and I am overwhelmed. I'm stoked, and I'm loving every second of it. And I hope to everything glorious, because we just lost our owner, Virginia McCaskey, may you rest in peace, that we get gifted what's right behind your head right now, because we deserve, 102 years is a long, full life on this earth. Virginia, man, she lived that life. Love her or hate her, agree or disagree. She took our honey bears away, whatever. I get it. But we deserve Mason Graham. Am I right?
That's a fact. And to her, I guess, swan song, sign off, she got to watch the Bears beat the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field.
That was cool. Somebody posted that on Twitter, that was the final play she got to see, was the field goal at the last second. I was like, what a fitting way for her to see us beat the Packers, man. I no better way. I would
at the very least in Bears lore, you're totally spot on there. Yeah,
exactly. Would have been nice to see a Super Bowl, but maybe, just maybe, things are starting to come around. How do we feel? Are we heading in the right direction, Karl? We said this exact same thing last year. Said we were.
Well, maybe a certain Dan Shorty on the Bears Country podcast did. I mean, he definitely put money down on a Super Bowl victory, whatever the case was. I'm definitely not ready to go there. But if anything, if the season goes the way that their coaching staff change went, right? Get Ben Johnson, all these fantastic coaches. Like that is a stark contrast to what I'm familiar with as far as last year. So,
John, you just made me have to update my ticker live stream. I'm going to have to do that here in a second, but I just want to appreciate you, recognize you. John Kaiser, thanks for becoming a member. On the bottom there, you see the ticker. We just opened up memberships a couple days ago, and I am proud of where the channel's heading. Thank you all for reaching 10,000. We're almost going to do the drawing. Probably next week I'll do the drawing live for the jersey. But all you new members, Nick Sartini, if you haven't responded yet, you got the rookie Caleb Williams card. It's not, it's not anything glorious, but that was the first member. I just did I'm going to send you a rookie card of Caleb Williams. After we get 25 members, I'm gonna do a drawing for one of these little helmets. I collect these helmets, these little Rydell helmets. I like these things. We're gonna do one of those.
Now, are you going to tell them which one they get, or do they get the choice to pick?
They get a pick, and it'll
That's
be
awesome.
The store. It's not from my shelf.
Adam Mason, a man of the people.
So we're gonna keep rocking this thing. We'll try to bring you some new stuff. And one of those things, Karl has graciously agreed to come, and we're gonna try to dual stream these things to help his channel as well. We're gonna try to dual stream this in the future, but doing these short videos, us talking about the team, where it's at, where we're headed, where we go from here. And just kind of bringing a collaboration of the minds, because I'm not doing enough live stuff yet. So Karl and I talked, and away we go on this.
And you let me be the first to tell you, it seems like you have a very dedicated fan base right now in here. So I think that the Masonites, is that what the hairiest bear gooch? Is that what they said?
Masonites.
The Masonites.
I'll accept it. Mason Nation.
Yeah, they come out.
It's not just my channel. It's Bears fans, man. When we get away from the polarity of us, kind of at each other's throats, there will be the next thing around the turn. The next thing, I'm in fact in the chat already. You see, Ashton Genty.
That's the number one topic that I've seen up to this point is boo Ashton Genty. Like that's going to be the conversation at 10th.
Well, that's not even where we're headed on this. I mean, we've got so much stuff lined up for you guys, but we can hit that, because did you see him on Radio Row today?
Well, direct contrast to that, I have a clip on my Twitter that I harvested from his YouTube account from like October, where someone said, "How do you feel about going to Chicago?" And he said, "It's too cold." Yeah, now all of a sudden he wants to come here because he wants to be the 10th overall pick. That's called media training.
Exactly, and I just said that on Twitter as well. It's very, very contrasting. In October, he was in a podcast setting in his own room, like we're sitting here in our own little studios.
Exactly.
He was sitting there, and he just said, "They already got DeAndre Swift. I don't want to go there." And he said, "It's too cold there. Nah, not a Chicago." And now he's had his PR people saying, "Don't you exclude any team." You don't want to do that. You don't want to be the guy.
It's
that
almost as if
excludes
someone
you.
told him, Ashton, the higher you get drafted, the more money your contract gives you. And he'd say, oh my God. So
Oh, interesting how that works.
that's how it works.
I don't want to fall the 12 to the Cowboys. I actually get an extra $750,000 a year by going to the Bears at 10 instead of the Cowboys at 12. Interesting how that works. So that's
Yeah.
pretty funny. So, boo Ashton Genty, John Kaiser says. Boo Ashton Genty.
Hold on a second. Can we please put Darius Beargooch's comment up? If Hampton is there at 72, Hampton might not be there at 22.
So this is where we might head this direction here. Karl, I'm going to hurry and I'm going to find where this needs to go on our. We got a bunch of stuff lined up, but we're going to try to keep. We're going to have 11 episodes of this, guys. So I'm going to find real quick where the running back room is. Let's just bring this on and I'll get there.
All about the Benjamins. That's a fact, Andy Anderson. That's a fact.
So let's remove this. That's our quarterbacks and running back room. This is where we stand right now with our running back room. And here's the other thing from today, Karl. I don't know if it was today or earlier this week. Eddie George talked about how when he was interviewed with the Bears, they openly said they were targeting Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins. Did you see this?
Have you been watching the Thy Smi channel? I just uploaded a short on that last night.
Didn't see that short, but I love you. Karl's got great stuff, guys. So check out his channel, Thy Smi. See, he beat me to the punch on this one, so it's worth checking out. I like Karl's content.
The way I spun it was, it felt like he was talking about Travion Henderson, but he probably was talking about Judkins just as much. He used the word he is definitely on their draft board. Now, someone I saw on Twitter said something along the lines of, well, he was a Rooney Rule candidate. His opinion doesn't matter. He got fed bad information. Well, no. Eddie George came in for an interview to satisfy that requirement at the drop of a dime. And Eddie George has deep ties to Ohio State. I believe he was a fantastic running back for Ohio State, right? He was a fantastic back in the NFL. So just maybe the Bears fed him some information, and in return for Eddie George helping the Bears, Eddie George in a roundabout way is helping out his favorite school's draft prospects, their stock, right? So it goes full circle. I think it's very legitimate news because the Chicago Bears, I'm the one banging the drum on this. I don't think that DeAndre Swift is good enough. He cannot be your 65%, 70% lead running back.
We're going to hit that, but Traffic Keeper asked, what's your channel, Karl? Go ahead and say it.
Thy and Smi. Let me join the chat. I'm right here.
We'll put it in the comment, or we'll put it in the description when the video's over, too. We'll put it in the description. Come back. You can have a link to it.
And you can click on my name. I'll get a link for you guys. It's no problem, but I don't want that to be kind of, a task you guys have to do. Just stay engaged in the chat. It's fine.
Yeah, just check him out when you get a chance. Karl's got some great stuff. He really does. He's got a lot more podcast stuff like this where he's got guests. He's on there with a lot with Bearski, and
I'm not at the Adam Mason level of being, ready to go. Here are the facts. It's more off the dome. So a little bit of a yin and yang situation, like I was telling Adam backstage here.
All right, so obviously we know we're gonna hit running backs this episode. I guess we were going in a different direction, but we're gonna hit running backs because it's such big news. All right, so we know Ben Johnson when he was in Detroit. They drafted a running back first and then traded DeAndre Swift.
And that was something that was really debated, right? There was a little bit of gaslighting, whatever you want to call it, that I've seen online. That is the exact turn of events. Now, what I'm not clear on is if the Lions traded up or traded back to acquire Gibbs.
Both.
But
they traded out of 6 into later, and then they traded back up to be able to get Gibbs.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, that says all you need to know about DeAndre Swift. Because Ben Johnson, I don't know exactly when he took over in 2022, but Ben Johnson was essentially the primary play caller for DeAndre Swift, who was used at a 35% snap count. So they said, okay, we have to upgrade. They got the running back they wanted and then traded DeAndre Swift away. DeAndre Swift goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, accumulates 1,000 yards, but the Eagles did not go to the Super Bowl that year. Then, in 2024, this year, Eagles' offensive line gets, in my opinion, worse. You downgrade from a Hall of Fame center to Cam Jurgens is fine, right? But just out of the idea of losing a Hall of Fame center, your offensive line got worse. You add Saquon doubles that production, they go to the Super Bowl. DeAndre Swift is not good enough, guys.
I like the satire. Here's the thing, though. We don't have it ready to pull up, but DeAndre Swift's this number. They weren't chump change, and you can blame it on a lot of different things. But the fact is, he's not a power back, and we're missing that in Chicago because we are a ground and pound type of team. We're not your finesse team, and Saquon fills kind of both of those roles.
Yes.
He can pound it hard and he can be finesse. The bigger thing is, how much of that is Saquon, how much of that is the offensive line. That's what people in Giants world are saying. Well, he was always good, but we didn't have an offensive line. And why didn't they're mad at their own ownership now for not retaining, which they should be, and fixing the offensive line. Where do the Bears stand in that line, though? Because are we really ready to, give up on DeAndre Swift when our offensive line clearly, as far as the running game goes, our pass blocking was pretty below average. Especially with the backups in there, was among the worst in the league.
Pass blocking offensive line or the backs?
Offensive line. So comparing our offensive line to where DeAndre Swift was with the Eagles and then with the Giants, or not DeAndre Swift with the Giants, but with the Lions, Saquon going from the Giants to the Eagles. Now we've got a situation where are we really ready to dub out some of these players that didn't have a good year last year? Because look at the coaching turmoil. We had Matt Eberflus and the issues. Luke Getz. I'm sorry, not last year. Shane Waldron and his issues.
That's how scarred we are, Adam.
Yeah.
Hey, and by the way, the reports were that when Shane Waldron got kicked to the curb, part of the reasoning was that he scrapped 2 years of production under the former offensive line coach. So it's definitely a coaching situation that hurt DeAndre Swift and just the Bears offense as a whole, right? But my point would just be that we have evidence of DeAndre Swift being utilized in different roles where he maybe is better. And relying on DeAndre Swift, in my opinion, is just, it's close to malpractice. It would not be my favorite move. Now, I also don't feel like they should just straight cut him. I hope I'm not coming off of that as well.
I gotta clarify that you say relying on him. And what do you mean by relying?
75% utilization. Okay. He's your lead back. He's, he plays every other third down. He's the guy who's primarily you're implementing him into the game plan as your primary back. I would just love DeAndre Swift at 35% usage rate, scat back, primarily third down, primarily, if he accumulates 800 yards, 600 of that hopefully would be receiving. And maybe that's not even tangible, but that's what I would want to see him, not as go between the tackles. Because when he started getting going, I think about his game against the Rams, I think he was pretty good against, the Jaguars, just when the Bears won their games, right? He felt fine, and running up between the middle, he was fine. But there were so many moments early and then later on in the season where maybe he thought, or I thought that there was a hole for him to run through, and he just bounced it outside. So
that's where his strength, and I completely agree with you, but that's where his strength lies. That burst of speed is quicker than his 40 time, and I don't know his 40 time, honestly, off the top of my head.
I mean, the 40 time is one of those tiny differentiators, in my opinion. I hate how, Xavier Worthy broke the 40-yard dash record, and he's okay, you're a first-round pick. I really don't like that. I think of guys like John Ross who could run fast, but were just not good at football. Your football speed is what matters. And DeAndre Swift is quick.
Swift on that outside, that's where he shows off. If he can get an edge.
He's not Barry Sanders to the point where he can choose to pass up holes to do all this crazy stuff,
Well, I agree with you completely. So this is why that news coming out of, Eddie George saying the Bears are looking to upgrade the position makes sense.
But and it doesn't apply just to Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. They are looking to upgrade the running back room, and I would sure as heck hope they are doing so.
Now, this comment right here by Greg B. Season's over, so it's fine. We ended up getting rid of Herbert, and we got a 6th-round pick out of it. I'm actually really grateful for that 6th-round pick because we need some of those prospects that we can, develop. We got to have some of those. Some of those pan out every once in a while. You've got your Terrell Smith type of guys who end up being, really good late-round pick. Some of those guys come through for us. We need some of those. But how could we have traded Khalil Herbert mid-season when we knew where we were with this entire situation? Why did we not use Khalil Herbert more? That's kind of a bigger question to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look, one of my favorite backfields in the NFL are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had Rashad White at 55, Bucky Irving at 45, and their third back was at 10%, right? So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, Roshan Johnson has not taken that next step up. I don't know if it's concussions, what it is. If he would be at a 10% usage, Swift and Herbert should have been at that, 50-50 split, essentially. I would have loved to see that. And again, just more malpractice from that terrible coaching staff that, for the first time ever, got fired midseason.
Did you see Kerry Blasingame at Radio Row? And
No.
he
What did he say?
basically did everything he could. I think it was Carm was interviewing
I
him on this.
hate
On
Karm, dude.
Don't go there. It's fine. It's the fact was they got him and they had him on. But if you hate Carm, you're going to hate him even more if you go watch that one because they were trying to lead him with questions, and I hate when they do that with.
Well, that's why I say that, because that directly applies to what he did to Trey Smith. And I know
Yeah.
Trey Smith is a
It
professional
was
and
the
money is
same
going to
day.
trump all. But if Karm scared off Trey Smith, dude,
Well, let's be realistic about that for a second. Trey Smith, if they win the Super Bowl this year, do you think a guy is going to turn down $22 million from the Chiefs to stay with them if they restructure contracts after you just won 3 Super Bowls to go to the Bears for $23 million when you just won 3 Super Bowls with the
so
Chiefs?
he'd be
That kinda
playing next
lingers.
to his college teammate. I don't know
get
what the exact connection is there with Darnell Wright, aside from them literally playing football together
Yeah,
at Tennessee. But that's why I'm saying maybe people think this is outlandish. Like, why can't we make Trey Smith the highest paid, offensive lineman in football history?
You can.
Why not? Why not?
It's going to kill our salary cap.
Sure. Give him 25 guaranteed for 3-4 years. So that's $100 million down the drain, fully guaranteed, and then give him escalators to 30. I don't care. That's how you acquire blue chip talent.
We're acting like this year Trey Smith is Chris Lindstrom and he's number 1 guard in the league. He's not the number 1 guard in the league, and I'm not trashing.
He
Trey
benefits playing next to that iconic center, Creed Humphrey and Joe
Smith. And he's
Thuney.
a top 10 guard, but he's not standalone the guy that changes that entire line. So that's part of why we do this. I'm not on that boat of paying Trey Smith whatever he wants. This $60 million is not going to go as far as people think to fill 17 more slots.
Oh, it's going to go fast.
It's going to get eaten up pretty quick.
Correct.
So Trey Smith, yeah, I want him, but if it's going to come down to having to pay him $25 million instead of $21 million, that $4 million is a good backup guard. The $21 million or that $4 million is cut DeAndre, or you trade DeAndre Swift and you can take $9 million and there's not really a good running back, but we could re-sign Keenan Allen for $12 million.
We could talk into that. Like I said, I've got a high-level overview on each position, but if we're sticking with running backs, I think the moral of the story is DeAndre Swift is not bad enough to cut. I told you backstage, I'm hearing off-the-cuff rumors of him having, trade exploration, which I don't know what they'd get back for that.
Yeah,
but
that's the big rumor, right? That's the thing with Bears World. We come across a rumor every 3 days, and it gets legs for 2 minutes.
Our fan base is very good at siphoning the clicks out of anything.
Our fan base is
so much. Myles Garrett wants a trade. Why should he go to the Bears? Yeah, why? Shouldn't be.
Our fan base is the
whatsoever.
king right now in Twitter and all these different worlds of creating fake breaking news and making it seem like the Bears have already done it. It's at that annoyance level. Like it's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
That's correct.
So, but back to the Kerry Blasingame thing. They asked him, about how he felt about the former team, basically trying to get him to trash on the Bears almost. And he did a really good job of deflecting and just being like, I'm always rooting for my former guys. I always check in on my former guys. I always want to see them do well. I'm grateful to be here at the Super Bowl. I'm grateful the Eagles picked me up. They asked him, did you feel underutilized by the Bears? Did you feel like they disrespected you? And it was almost just like, dude, let it go. Let Kerry Blasingame go. Let him do his thing. Let him enjoy his Super Bowl.
Yeah, you guys the media should be trying to prop him up to get him a job back in the NFL. Obviously, his talent and his footage should be the dictator on that, right? But why are you trying to set the guy up? So
I agree with you, though. We need to upgrade the position. Doesn't sound like we're doing it in the first round, though, from what Eddie George said. Do you think that's smoke and mirrors? Do you think they could be going for that first round, Ashton Genty?
I think it would be a monstrous mistake, and the reason that I'm so keen on the second round pick is because if Hampton is there, I love him. I think he's potentially the best running back in the draft. I do think Genty's better, but I think that second round pick is a bit of house money. That's the one you got from Carolina. and again, I've said this multiple times, right? If imagine a billboard, and that billboard is your starting wide receiver, your starting quarterback, and your starting running back. That all came from one trade. That would just be so cool to me.
Yeah, wild. Okay, so with what you just said, where do you think the Bears are targeting that running back? Do you think it's 39, 41, or 72? Because it sounds like they want to go early.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion at 37. The Las Vegas Raiders, your Las Vegas Raiders, by the way.
Not my. Hey, let's get this clear. When I've started, it's not like I was hiding anything. I live in Vegas, and I've said it from the start, and people,
I know,
all of a sudden they start saying, "How do you feel about the Raiders doing this? How do you feel about the Raiders picking up Pete Carroll?" And I've had to start getting a little bit more firm with it. I don't give a flying crap. I can look out this window right here, and I can see the Raiders practice facility, literally right there. I can see it out my window, my second-story window, and I can see it. I don't care about the Raiders. I've never cared about the Raiders.
If you had a dog, you could take them to go potty there. I mean,
exactly. I'm really excited that the Bears play here next year, so I can go to the game down,
that'd be awesome.
A couple miles down the road and go see the game because I don't live in Chicago, so it's kind of, I fly there every year. I go see Cubs games. I go to Bears games because I am a diehard Bears and Cubs fan, but I don't give a
The only reason I brought that up, my point here is that the enemy, Chip Kelly, was hired by the Raiders to be their offensive coordinator. I can promise you, if Travion Henderson is available at 37 for the Raiders, guess who the Raiders are drafting? Travion Henderson.
Shocker world when you live here. Hey, there's a guy down the street who has insider information, and I kid you not, he's got some insider. I won't say
I think
until
you told me about
stuff.
B.O.B.
Bob down the street. He was all in on it, that he knew that Ben Johnson had no shot of going to the Raiders. None. Even when everything else here was really heavy on the rumors of him coming to the Raiders.
I think Ben Johnson's agent, Rick Smith, who made his rounds on the Barroom Network and 670 The Score and ESPN 1000, he corroborated that as well.
Yeah. So that all came out later, but he seems to think the Raiders might be in on Ashton Genty.
Yeah, I'm definitely of the belief that they could do that. In my opinion, the way that it goes, and maybe this is a fantasy, if Ashton Genty gets to the Cowboys, he will go at 12. And I hope that becomes like public knowledge and essentially a fact. Because if the Chargers, who I've made a willy-nilly open bet with you, if the Chargers really want Ashton Genty, maybe they trade up with the Bears to 10, and then we get to see Ashton Genty accumulate 2,000 all-purpose yards on Jim Harbaugh's fantastic Los Angeles Chargers. So that would be my fantasy, but.
Right. So you guys know how I feel about Ashton Genty. I'm going to be fair here, Karl. Because I remember you talking up Ashton Genty before, right? A month or so ago?
I mean, I was thinking about making a video months ago, essentially right after that UNLV game. I said, this is the most NFL game that you're going to see from him. And it was under the idea that UNLV game plan against him, played him well in the NFL stadium where I guess they always play, right? So if that's his floor, I've seen comparisons of Ashton Genty to LaDainian Tomlinson. Who wouldn't want LaDainian Tomlinson on your football team?
Everyone would want LaDainian Tomlinson on your football team.
And I think he has it in him, but I would like to see it at the NFL level. And obviously that means for the Bears, they'd have to take him before I see it. So it's kind of a sketchy thing. But at 10, no, thank you.
So I kind of make the rounds. I don't want to make this whole episode about me bashing Ashton Genty. Okay?
Go for it.
Leonard Fournette was taken by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't remember which year in the draft, whatever year, 2005.
It was the Jacksonville Jaguars, I thought. The fourth overall pick?
Fournette was Fournette not the Buccaneers? Come on.
He got signed to the Buccaneers in light of Tom Brady's kind of like sign-off, right? I'm positive that Leonard Fournette was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, that would make more sense because they always overdrafted. Yeah, you're right. Selected by the Jaguars, the fourth round. I just remember him. It's stuck in my head at the Buccaneers. Okay. So I do remember
That's how he won the Super Bowl.
Yes, he was the fourth overall pick, though. Okay? Fourth overall pick. There was one flaw with Fournette. Now, he hit a hole hard, and, I mean, he had 1,000-yard seasons. Good back. He was a good back. Was he worth taking at number 4 overall, though?
I mean, hindsight's 20/20. A lot of his footage I remember seeing is like if he got to the second level and he had a full head of steam, he was just going to go to run you over. And maybe that'd work against the, I don't want to offend anyone, the 160-pound insurance salesman. But in the NFL, that's not going to fly. So.
So this is my comp. This is why I comp Ashton Genty to him. And I don't mean disrespect Ashton Genty, because I do think Ashton Genty, very quick, you get him in open field and he's going to burn a couple guys. I think he has sub 4.4 speed. He will run guys over straight on. But the problem at the college level is he had a lot of arm time. I mean, the people, you watch the highlights, there's so many where he has a Mack truck sized lane and they try to arm tackle him. He's going to break every one of those arm tackles because he is a big, imposing back. Like, he is powerful. He is powerful. He doesn't have the lateral agility. He doesn't have the jump step. He doesn't cut on a dime like Barry Sanders. And then I see people comparing him to Barry Sanders, and that's what drives me nuts. He's not Sweetness. He's not Walter Payton. He's not Barry Sanders. He doesn't have that same lateral agility. And in this deep class, there are some guys, they might not be as powerful, they might not be as quick as Ashton Genty, but they can see the vision of the hole better, because Ashton Genty didn't have to do that a lot at Boise State. He didn't have to find the hole a lot. The hole opened up. I mean, they had good linemen there, and they would open up a hole and be gone. I don't think that's going to be the case in the NFL. You're going to have linebackers hitting you in the hole. Yeah, you might run one or two over, and I do think he'll be a 4-yard per carry back. I'm not saying he's going to be trash, but I just think there's so many better options later on than to have to pigeonhole yourself because he's a powerful back. You can get a multi-role back.
Yeah, I would say that Ashton Genty is capable of being a very good 3-down back in the NFL. And I actually think that Ashton Genty's strength and special talent is his ability to simply bounce off of tackles. He's like Gumby, right? And he's got that diminutive frame where he's strong, thick, but he's like shorter. So you're not going to get a clean shot on him like that. I would imagine it's almost like trying to tackle Tariq Cohen, but if Tariq Cohen actually was strong. And I don't know. I think Ashton Genty can be a very good back, but again, I think that at 10, it would just be arrogant for the Chicago Bears to draft a running back at 10th, even if it is LaDainian Tomlinson.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. We have so many needs to fill. Go. Karl, let's get into what we did prepare. We kind of went off on the running backs. We'll have this episode be focused on the running backs, but I do want to get in. Let's show, this is what I kind of went over this in some of my other, seasonal videos where I do an entire salary cap breakdown. This is the defense. This is the offense. This is where we stand. And there is $5 million from last year that I didn't have completely allocated. So the spendable cap here at the bottom, I don't have my pointer when we're on StreamYard, guys. But our top 51 is how we count the salary cap going into camp. When camp is over, we have to cut the 90-man roster down. And then it's the total 53 plus the practice squad included in your entire salary cap. Okay. So 275 is what's being reported right now will be the adjusted salary cap. And that's after 255 last year. So it's up $20 million. The Bears are going to have $5 million in rollover cap. And because Ryan Poles, love him or hate him, think he's made half and half good decisions, half and half bad. If you're stuck on, the Chase Claypool trade, if you're stuck on Ryan Bates being a bust and trading pick for him and whatever else, either way, he's brought that dead cap down. Our dead cap is down to $2.3 million. And that's basically just cutting your rookies that didn't pan out. That's all that really is. And that's minimal dead cap. This is a great place for the Bears to be in.
Yeah, not a lot of people had the not rose-colored glasses, but quite the opposite. They were very mad at Ryan Poles, and they wanted him fired, whatever the case was. But he had a job to do. He had to pick up the pieces, so to speak, for Ryan Pace. I mean, I think literally last year was the last year we stopped paying Danny Trevathan. Yeah. So
it was. And also
he's done this the right way, in my opinion.
Getting rid of Cody Whitehair and then Eddie Jackson. And then we'll get to these contracts in a minute, but replacing them with contracts as early as his first year, contracts that were loaded properly to be able to cut late in the season or late in their contract if they weren't panning out. Players like Gerald Everett last year, signing him to a 2-year deal, front loading that a little bit, paying him more up front, and then having it so we can cut him this year if we want to. Whether that's the right decision or not isn't the point right now, but creating those types of contracts was very favorable for the Bears long term, and he's doing a lot of those contracts, so it's really positive for the Bears down the road. So we've got right now, if you look at Spotrac, go look at this salary cap episode I did if you're confused on this. But if you look at Spotrac, it's going to tell you we're somewhere in the, I don't know, $210 million range, 212, because they're counting every single future reserve contract. They're counting things that won't count once we get past the draft and once we get into the 90-man roster. They're only going to count the top 51 players. So for my purposes, I've only counted, I know this is tiny on your screen, guys. We'll try to make it full screen here just for a second so you can see. I know it's tiny on there, and I apologize. I am going to get this thing released to you guys soon. I think I'm going to release it to members first and then before the draft to everyone. But on the left here, I don't have the pointer to show you, but you see right where it says roster cap figure, starter, and backup. That's where I signify which of these positions we need for a starter and a backup. Next to that over on the right, if it's yellow, you see need in green, and yellow in it doesn't count. So these yellow, Austin Reed, that doesn't count towards the salary cap because he's not going to, in the end, count towards the salary cap. Same for Samori Torre and John Jackson. Same for Jordan Murray and Joel Wilson. So I didn't put those on there, and that gives you a realistic look at where the salary cap stands. So as it stands today, go ahead.
Caveman brain. The Spotrac sites are going to tell you everything, assuming that those future reserve contracts are counting towards the cap. But
Correct.
obviously, once they are shifted over, and we're just talking about the final 53, that's what matters.
Yeah.
Easy
Final
peasy.
51 for camp. So if you see right below where it says salary cap above the orange circle, you'll see 34 players. That's how many real players on the roster we have right now. True players that have really earned a spot. Whether you think we're going to get rid of Gerald Everett, DeAndre Swift, whether you think we'll get rid of some guys, they're actually players that were on the roster last year who have earned a spot on the roster. Until otherwise, they're counted in those 34 right now.
And whenever I hear about roster construction, it's essentially your core is 40 players, and then you get to 53. So
yeah, I mean, you can, but for this purpose, those 34, those still include like the Dominic Robinsons. And
right. That 34 is going to go down. Your draft picks are going to add to that, but not every single draft pick are. We've got a bunch of 6th and 7th, right? Like those are not going to be core players.
Yeah, so
hopefully they become core players.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have some developmental ones that do work out.
Trey Smith was a 6th.
Elijah Hicks was a 7th.
Hey, I'm proud of you, Adam. You turned around to Elijah Hicks. I was very confident. I was confident when he got put into the starting role, and you said, "Oh, I don't know about that," but
man, it changes year to year, and that's why we like to do these types. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do 11 episodes here, guys. We're gonna deconstruct this whole thing. It changes every year because last year before the season, I was so out on Dominic Robinson. I was done with him, like beyond done.
And you're about to say that you aren't?
I want him to have a shot this year because last year his win rate, his pressure rate when he got to play was actually phenomenal, and we didn't even have that
statistically
a crap situation.
I remember him having a weird flash against the Cardinals, and everyone knows the Cardinals, that was a terrible game. Outside of that, I feel like he just had another bad year, Dominic Robinson.
So what I'm saying is I wanted to see them play him more. Like, why did we not give him more of a shot when he put the work in over the offseason? I'm not saying I want him to start. I'm not saying I even want him to be on the active 53 every week. But he's at least a player that came along and developed. The same type of thing with Elijah Hicks the year before. Oh, man, he had a rough year. I did not want him seeing the field. His NFL passer rating against him was 158, which is as bad as it can possibly be. He was terrible. And then Karl was right, and he showed up and had a great year for us last year.
My point to that, Eberflus has a knack for defensive backs. I mean, he kind of molded Kenny Moore, the third, into being one of the best nickel defenders in the NFL. Came here, Kyler Gordon. I don't think he elevated Jalen Johnson, but my point stands.
Yeah, I have linebackers and nickel. Now our linebackers are another story, but that's where he specializes is linebackers and corners. I think the Cowboys will benefit from him. Just don't let him ever be a head coach again, not even an interim.
Yeah, any move the Cowboys make is just laughable, but I think it's a respectable move. And we get to see the revenge game this year at least. So
exactly. I think that's one I want to come out there for. Really. Of the game that I choose, I think that would be one that I want to see.
That's going to end up being some sort of like Sunday night, Monday night game.
Yeah. So we sit at 78 million there, but then a lot of people don't take into account our rookie pool, these 8 players that we have to draft right now, the most of it going to our number 10 and our number 39 and 41. It's going to cost us $14 million. That's how much it's going to cost on that rookie cap. That's what's going to happen. Then your practice squad guys are going to make $250,000 a year That's just a rough estimate.
That's chump change.
And times that by 16, you got 4 million. So that'll cost you 18 million. So after that 78 million minus the 18, we got 60 million to spend. Okay. We got 60 million to spend. And this is where we need the help. So as you break it down, this is where we stand. We got 34 on rosters we just showed. And these are the missing starter spots: left guard, center, right guard. Now, this isn't taken into account. We could re-sign some guys. We could re-sign Coleman Shelton. We could re-sign Tevin Jenkins. Could. Nobody knows that yet. We haven't hit free agency. We haven't hit the re-signings. None of that's happened. So that's all hypothetical. We need a wide receiver 3. We need another running back. We need a nose tackle. Now, that might be arguable. Some people think Andrew Billings is starting nose tackle worthy. I'll go toe-to-toe with any of you and say, you know what? He filled in great. But it's just like Matt Pryor. Matt Pryor played really well at right guard, but he's not starting right guard quality. We want to upgrade that. Now, we still have Andrew Billings under contract, so let's keep him, but let's upgrade that position.
And when the Bears find a way to draft a Hall of Famer to be Mason Graham and then get his buddy Kenneth Grant, I mean, there's your defensive tackle pairing sorted. So,
I'm still giving Gervon Dexter a shot.
Don't absolutely, but yet. When I was compiling the snap percentages for the opponent's rosters, I watched the Vikings play a football game where they played only 4 true defensive linemen. And the most snap percentages that either of those 4 men played was 50%. And then I've seen games where Gervon Dexter has 85, 88 snap percentage. Like, he's a good player, but we cannot rely on him. That's why Jalen Carter and these boys at Philadelphia are so good. It's because they've got a rotation.
We need a strong rotation. I've been preaching that for a long time.
Correct.
We're playing around. Our line is getting beat all the time. We're playing around with it. I got to hurry and hit this real quick. Creighton Wilfong always does a Gervon Dexter update for us. He's the beat reporter on the street for Bear Down Sports. He's always game day. He knows what's going on. He's always got the news on Gervon Dexter. Breaking news right now: Gervon Dexter is fasting until he can eat quarterbacks again.
He was in pretty good shape going into the season, so I don't know if he needs to fast, but that's fine by me.
Cleanses and builds the hunger. We need him hungry for next year. And hopefully
I am all for it.
Game number 1 will be against Jared Goof.
Jared Goof.
That came from you. All right, so going on. We need him on the defensive end. Maybe we'll, take Jack Sanborn on his restricted free agency. Someone offers him a deal. We'll snag him as our third linebacker, but you could say that's a starter position, just like you can say nickel's a starter position, but they flip-flop back and forth. They're on the field at different times on different packages. And then long snapper, probably the least important starter that we need. Scott Dowley, most likely, in my opinion. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the long snappers. All I can tell you is that I thought with the hiring of Dennis Allen, our new defensive coordinator, I thought I heard whispers of him liking 3 down linebacker fronts or packages where it's 4 linemen, 3 linebackers.
Yeah, he's a 4-3 guy. But then
in the sense, like this year, I was really proud of the scheme in the sense that it was a 4-3 Tampa 2, but it was modernized to have Hunter Hillenmeyer replaced with Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon was essentially that 3rd linebacker. But now I'm hearing it could be the opposite. But in the same breath, I heard Dennis Allen single out Kyler Gordon. So
yeah, he loves what he sees in Kyler Gordon. The thing that with Dennis Allen, he runs a lot of 3 safety sets as well. So you could see some 2 linebacker, 3 safeties, 2 corners. He changes it up, and he likes to come after the quarterbacks hard. He doesn't necessarily blitz as much as you would think he does. His blitz packages are less than, I think, the average. But he creates a lot of creative things on the defense. Say you're going to bring Kyler Gordon, which should be every drive should have a Kyler Gordon blitz. I don't care if you're losing the shock value. Kyler Gordon's a freaking beast coming on.
Look at what the Chiefs did. When they needed to win the football game on defense, what did they do? Outside corner blitz.
Yeah.
Like, if Kyler Gordon was there, he probably makes a sack.
And you'll see some more of that as we go into 3 safety sets. So I'm really intrigued to see if he will take Tyreek Stevenson in to be that 3rd safety. I'm really intrigued by that.
That's Al Harris's project, man. Like, he asked the guy, Tyreek Stevenson, to go to that camp. I think that they are not just going to give up on him. So my pipe dreams of acquiring Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, and Will Johnson, it's just not going to happen. I don't think they're going to go corner early at all.
You're not going to get all three of those anyways. How could you get Mason Graham and Will Johnson? That's never going to happen.
Gotta trade up, buddy. No, I'm just kidding.
Do the who was it? The Cardinals who traded up and they had the number 2 overall pick or number, I don't remember which.
It was the Texans, 2 and 3.
The Texans 2 and 3. That's
with
who
the
it was.
Cardinals.
Texans.
You got it.
The
Yeah.
Cardinals. Yeah, they had 2 and 3. We're not going to pull that off. We're not doing that.
Greg B's got a comment and a half in there. I don't know if we want to bring it to light, but
No,
just regarding Carter.
We're not bringing that to light.
Greg B, I see you, buddy.
That is pretty good, though. I'm with you. I'll bring those things up on Twitter, but I'm not going to bring that up on here. All right, so then our backups. We do need another depth piece at offensive tackle. A swing tackle at least. Karan Amagaji is not ready to step in, so we need one that can fill in right guard or right tackle or left tackle. Need a left guard as a backup. Center's backup. Notice how there's left guard and center right now. Starter and backup. That's how critical it is on the offense that we fix this offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of had this come out as like a domino effect. Can't get Trey Smith. You got to go for the next best tier of offensive lineman that's available. Whether that's Drew Dahlman, I know that you're going to shoot that down and say that maybe Coleman Shelton's the better, more economical option. I still think it'd be an upgrade. But if you get past those 2 tiers, I think I finally turned a leaf over to Tevin Jenkins. I think that his potential on a more team-friendly deal is worth it, especially for continuity's sake. It's just, I feel strongly that Tevin Jenkins is going to get a lot of money from someone.
Yeah, they project him around 12, 13, but all it takes is one person saying, hey, this is the left guard we want. That's $60 million. Here's the thing, though, Karl, and I'm preaching to the choir on this. People start to understand it, but a lot of people are comparing Drew Dahlman this year to Lloyd Cushenberry last year, and Lloyd Cushenberry set the market with a 4-year, $12.5 million a year, $50 million contract.
What did Lloyd Cushenberry do this year for the Broncos?
Stuck to freaking egg,
yeah,
man.
He kind of flamed
Not
out.
He went from the Broncos to the Titans.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah. So at the Titans, like he.
Oh yeah,
the Titans.
That's right. The Titans weren't able to Los Angeles Lakers and buy their way to a championship. What a shame. What a shame.
But that was one of the key cruxes, though. So you've got Drew Dahlman, who I mean, he's built like a freaking bodybuilder. I mean, he's muscular like crazy, and he gets out, probably run blocks better than anybody. I mean, I don't think they'll let him go because they don't want to, lose anything with their construction of that line, trying to help Bijan Robinson. That's their main investment right there in Atlanta. So how are they going to let Drew Dahlman go when that's their key core of their, offense, is how it should be? His pass blocking isn't.
I thought the Falcons had 5 first-round picks on their offensive line.
I think it was 4.
Whatever the case is, they've got like 8 first-round picks invested on the offense. Like, you can't pay everyone.
Yeah, you can't pay everyone. That's true. And you hear rumors they're trying to shop Pitts.
Oh yeah,
is that right?
That's such a sad story because he came out, he was like a guaranteed prospect, and his first rookie year was promising, and then something happened. I think Arthur Smith happened, and just he flamed out, man. So he's a good football player in my opinion. I think he deserves a chance, but if I was him, I'd want to go somewhere else.
So there's one of the most intriguing things for me in this draft class, because as far as everyone's concerned, Drew Dahlman is the number 1 free agent prospect. 26 years old, like built like a rock, can get out there very quickly. He gets to the second level super well. He doesn't, handle things the best in pass pro. He lets guys with efficient moves and stunts get past him. You can make the same argument for Coleman Shelton, though. But Coleman Shelton's going to be significantly cheaper. But this draft class is not, there's not one clear-cut Zach Frazier or Jackson Powers Johnson that you're going to say, I can plug this guy in day one, and he's going to be my stud. He's going to be the beast of my offensive line that holds everything together. So we got $60 million. Are you going to spend 12 of that on Drew Dahlman when you've got, see that 34? You got 17 more spots to fill with $60 million. Now, 8 of those are going to be, 5 of those, 6. How many of those draft picks are going to be, on your 51-man roster? 6 of them?
Out of 8?
Let's say 6 of them make the 51-man roster.
But out of 8 total picks?
Yeah.
All 8 could make it.
Right. All 8 will
There's
be
always
on
a
the
situation
team.
like with Travis Bell where
we're
they're
not
good enough, but you put them on the I can't think of the
practice squad.
Yeah, thank you. The practice squad, and then they get poached, all that good stuff. So,
I see this. Dave S. Sorry about that, man. I'm really curious how free agency works with our O-line. This dictates how our draft will unfold. That's exactly why Karl and I decided to do this limited edition podcast for the next,
Yeah, I released a mock draft, and when I did that mock draft, during the video, I said this is the scenario, and this is why I'm making these picks. But people sometimes don't listen to that, and you just get hate. So there has to be so much context with these early mock drafts. But Dave is spot on. You're not going to go into the draft. Wasn't it the case where the draft was before free agency?
No,
like a long time ago?
The draft was back in March before, but they started. That was forever ago. I mean, we're talking like 80s or something. But
Correct.
I think they opened the new league year before that. I'm not positive on that, but I think they've always had free agency as a priority for the returning players. It's basically just goodwill to them, type of thing. But people have floated that idea.
From a philosophy standpoint, if you just told me for 2025 the Bears would be drafting before they'd go into free agency, I feel like that would be a nightmare.
Man, there's so many great comments here. No, I don't want Mekhi Becton, by the way.
If he's dirt cheap, but why is Mekhi Becton going to go for a dirt cheap contract?
Have you seen his pressure rates, though? Have you seen how bad he allows pressure? It's terrible.
But I'm assuming he's conversely very good at run blocking because he's a fucking mammoth. I'm so sorry, but he's a mammoth.
He's not even. I mean, he's very average at everything. He's just built up. This is the classic example of being built up by a great line around you. He is.
That's fact.
He is the weakest link on a really good offensive line. So no, I don't. So, anyways, back to the point because we are nearing the. I think. Are you good on time, Karl?
Yeah.
Okay. We wanted to keep this shorter. We'll try to keep it between a half hour and an hour every week. $60 million is not going to go as far as we think. So we take Drew Dahlman at $12 million, say that's $48 million. Now, 34, add the 8 draft picks. Let's just say they're all going to count to our 51. That's 42. You need 9 guys with that $60 million. You take a Drew Dahlman with $12 million, throw out another. Let's just say we keep Tevin Jenkins at 13. We get lucky and do that. That's another 13. So that's 25 out of that 60 gone. So there's 35 left. This is going to trickle down quicker than people realize. You get Trey Smith, $23 million, $22 million. This is going quickly.
25.
I think the Bears are going to have to be very selective with the contracts and make sure they're really invested on these guys. Is this pass pro problem with Drew Dahlman? Is his ankle completely healed? Is he going to turn into a Lloyd Cushenberry and have a really, I signed my contract and now whatever reason, culture, whatever in Tennessee, now we're getting all the right coaches. So it sounds good on paper, but is it going to work? Is it a guarantee with a guy that we sign who isn't proven year after year? I don't know. I don't have the answers for all that.
If you could go back to the needs section of what the Chicago Bears need going into 2025.
Yeah. Let me hit that real quick.
I would have to say, just from this graphic alone, it's going to be a requirement to draft a starting offensive lineman in some capacity. A right guard, center, a left guard. You're going to have to draft one. Wide receiver, I would love a cheap, economical veteran wide receiver 3. I know we've talked about Josh Palmer.
There's actually some really good options in this draft to take one of your cheaper draft prospects.
Right now, I wouldn't call this homerism, but because I'm not an Illinois fan, but Pat Bryant, that's
awesome.
That is my real strong desire as a project car in the 5th or 6th round. That would be so good for him to be our 5th or 6th wide receiver.
So right now at 149, our pick in the 5th round, that's where I'm keying in on wide receiver. There's so many good ones right there. If Jack Beck falls, which he won't, he just rose his draft stock with the Senior Bowl. But if he was right there before, but if he fell, if Pat Bryant's there, you guys know I love Ricky White. There's like 5 or 6 wide receivers right there in that 5th round range that would be awesome because you've already got Roma Dunze, you've already got DJ Moore, you've already got Cole Kmet. I mean, you're not starving like Bears have been in the past until we drafted and got DJ Moore, traded for DJ Moore, and drafted Roma Dunze. And, we were starving for that really solid receiver. We're not in that same boat we were in last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
And again, regarding the graphic, you need a backup tight end. So I think we're in lockstep regarding Cole Kmet. He's not I don't know the exact terms properly, but he's not a Mercedes Lewis blocker, right? I believe in Cole Kmet. So he's your starter, no doubt. As far as a backup, I'm hearing that this tight end class is very, very deep.
Yeah, it is.
Can you get a reliable pass catching tight end on day 3? If the answer is yes, I'm all for that.
Well, here's the thing. You're not going to have your tight end 3. So tight end develops slower than other positions. It takes more time.
Correct. Cole Kmet is the prime example of that.
Almost every one of them. You don't get very many Raiders tight ends. What's his freaking name? Not Myers?
Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers.
And Brock Bowers had the generational tag, and back in the day, he'd be a slot receiver. So
yeah, but he did. He came into the league day one, and he dominates. You're not going to get many of those. You kind of thought Kyle Pitts would be a receiving day one guy, but it takes time for the tight end position in the NFL. So if you're drafting one, if I'm the Bears and I'm taking a tight end, are we keeping Gerald Everett? That's something we could have discussed today. I think we're getting it. We'll hit that on another episode. Are we keeping Gerald Everett if he's tight end 2? Are we?
Spoiler alert! I say no to Gerald Everett, but
all right, you're going to take this that direct. We're already going to go there. We're gonna.
we got to give him a little taste, and they'll have to wait till next week.
Here's the thing with Gerald Everett. Is he a product of the environment, or is he somehow just fell off a cliff?
That'll be my homework for next week then.
Which one is it? Because I can show you
chicken or the egg. You made a comment about a chicken or the egg situation with Saquon. I think they're both the chicken and the egg. I think that's why they're in the Super Bowl, is because of how great Saquon is and how good the Eagles' offensive line is.
Yeah. Gerald Everett, though, how do you go from 80 targets to 12 targets? If nothing else,
ask Shane.
At least he's not being that vocal annoyance guy who's blowing things up. He's not blaming the team. He's not, I'm sure he's just as frustrated as everybody else. Going from 80, 90 targets, 600-700 yards a season to 12 targets and no production. Like, if I'm Gerald Everett, I'm pissed off at this situation. I'm frustrated that the Bears did me dirty like this.
All I could tell you is that when I saw Gerald Everett on the football field, he did not perform. And he got a lot of opportunity, in my opinion. It's sometimes more opportunity than Kmet. And that was very frustrating to watch.
How do you define opportunity? How do you define opportunity?
Call it snap percentages, literally like plays drawn up, designed for that player to catch the ball. I saw a football game where Gerald Everett had 2-3 screenplays, designed for him. It's like the play is designed for him. He's not one of the options in the route tree. He's just designed to get the ball, right? And Cole Kmet was just asked to block all of his plays. No targets.
You're going to get into a whole nother topic of conversation, though, with did the line really hold up enough? Did Caleb see the field well enough? Did he hit his open receivers? Did he hit Roma Dunze? Did he hit Gerald Everett when he was open? Did he? Who's to blame?
Well, that's the thing. If you can't get the ball, if you can't pass protect, then let's drop a play for Cole Kmet over the middle. That's quick, an outbreaking route, quick from him lining up on the line of scrimmage. But instead, he was just asked to block. Again, we're designing plays for Gerald Everett, or at that, it degraded to the point where you had 3 starters being your third tier practice squad players like Jake Curhan, right? So now DJ Moore is essentially a glorified running back, receiving the ball behind the line of scrimmage every other play. So it was a really bad situation last year, man.
Yeah, and I think this kind of sums up Bears fans with Florida Bear fan. Everett had 8 catches, made $6.5 million. Come on, man, we got hosed. Again, did we get? Was it his fault? I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to say we hit a home run with Gerald Everett, but we're going to give you a spoiler for next week. This is going to be on there. This is something we were going to go over today. We'll hit it next week. These are some of the names that are being floated. These are the contracts that could be cut, could be traded, and many of these could be traded. And we kind of led into it with the DeAndre Swift thing. We weren't planning on going there yet. We are going to wrap this up here in just a couple minutes. Appreciate every single one of you for being in the chat. This is a great fan base.
Yeah, chat's been very lively today. Thank you, guys. You guys are fantastic.
This is going to be fun to do this with you. So a precursor for next week. These are the and some of them you think no brainer. There's no way we're cutting this guy, like TJ Edwards, but we'd save $5.5 million. Like we were talking about with Ryan Poles, he's created these good contracts. So we got $60 million now. $60 million does not go very far. For those fans that are saying we got 8 draft picks and we got $60 million, we're good. We can fix this thing. Well, it's more complicated than that. 60 million does not go very far. But there's options. TJ Edwards, probably not going to cut him. I mean, if you and I were to put this to a vote, if we put a poll up on the chat right now, I would bet 99.9% of them would say we're not cutting TJ Edwards. We're not trading TJ Edwards. The one person that would probably vote against that would be if Don Burr was in the chat for some reason. So he would say, yep, get rid of TJ Edwards.
Can't believe you tried to bring him back from the dead. He's been long gone, man. Ever since little Jaden did his puppeteering, Don Burr's done for.
Where is Don Burr? I haven't seen him forever. Like
I literally think that he evaporated. Like, he is gone.
So we'll give you guys a spoiler for next week. We're going to hit this as the first part of next week's episode. So we've gone over where we stand now with our needs. We've got these core positions that we need to fill. We've got all these spots we need to fill with these last 17, 18 spots on the roster. These are the spots we need to fill. Some of them will be a league minimum contract. Long snapper, it's going to be a league minimum contract. Maybe we'll save some value with linebacker with Jack Sanborn being retained on a restricted free agency. Maybe we save some money by our backup guard being Bill Murray, who is a exclusive right free agent. So we can sign him. So an exclusive right free agent is someone who would normally be on a rookie contract but got cut and went to a practice squad. So they're still in their league minimum window. And so they get a league minimum when you sign them to an exclusive right. That's a very quick and condensed. Sorry about that. But there's a couple guys we can sign to these, like Jalen Jones. We could probably bring him back for that last cornerback spot on the bottom there, which he filled very well this year. Same thing with Josh Blackwell at nickelback, probably $1.5 million.
Let me tell you, there is not a backup nickelback in the NFL better than Josh Blackwell.
I completely agree with you. And we have the option to keep him. We'll go over, I'm going to give spoiler here. So just for the future, you guys can see, we're going to go position by position. We showed this early for quarterbacks, running backs. We're going to go through each positional group. This is the quarterbacks, pretty much set for quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent. Austin Reed's already on a future reserve. He'll probably end up on the practice squad again. Running back, we got a hole there, but these are the ones. I don't know how some people are saying Travis Homer's under contract. I saw that earlier on. Just another year. Nick said that Travis Homer's a $2.1 million liability for the salary cap, and I'm like, dude, he's a free agent. There's zero salary cap for Travis Homer right now. He's a free agent. But that's where we stand. We're going to go through each of these positional groups. We're going to kind of dissect where we would most advantage from taking some of these. For example, if you look at the right here, receivers, tight ends, you see at the bottom there, they're all unrestricted. Let's go to another one. So defensive line at the bottom there, the restricted free agent is the orange color. Chris Williams, he's a restricted free agent. We can match whatever. The blue ones are exclusive right. They will be a league minimum contract. Daniel Hardy, Jonathan Ford. Will some of these spots be filled up so we can go after some bigger fish by some of these league minimum contracts? Jonathan Ford, Daniel Hardy. Will we do that, or will we do that anyways to bring them into the 90-man and they won't count for the 51-man roster? Doesn't mean if we do that they're going to be on the 53-man roster in the end. They could just be a camp body that we're getting for cheap, and then we end up cutting them anyways or practice squatting them. There's a lot of options there. So we'll go over.
Hold on just a second. The only thing that my caveman brain is aware, if you could go back one slide, I saw Jamry Chroma. Has Jamry Chroma made his rounds to New England and all the way back, and you're saying he's under a future reserve contract right now?
Yeah, we signed Jamry Chroma.
Fantastic. I was not aware of that. So the dream lives on.
The dream lives on.
He's the modern-day Travis Bell for me.
I sent this to you via the email, the whole thing. Review this. It'll show you every single contract we have right now. We'll go over this with you guys as we go through these episodes, these 11 episodes, as we go before the draft. And we're going to lead right up to the draft, and hopefully we'll all be prepped and ready, and this is going to be the most historic draft in Chicago. I don't know how you can beat last year, though.
Man, we got that live audio clip of you freaking out about a punter. I don't know if we can one up that.
I was so upset over that, man. We're going live again this year, guys. Just so you know, we're going to go live for the draft, and I'm going to have so much prepared for the draft. It's going to be so much fun. We'll have player highlights in between, and we'll be doing some stuff and getting the pods available. It's going to be a lot of fun this year leading up to the draft, so we're going to have some fun.
That's a comment, Tony Moy right there, draft a kicker. I mean, one of my high-level points. I mean, I think Cairo Santos is untouchable.
Well, with them signing the contract with him and how consistent he's been.
And with Richard Hightower being retained after Richard Hightower literally saved him because the whole world said, oh, Cairo Santos, he's got the yips. He had a blocked kick against the best special teams coordinator in the NFL. He's a broken kicker. Nope. He sent off Miss Virginia McCaskey with a game-winning field goal in Lambeau. So
Yeah,
I'm all team King Cairo right now, man.
Yeah, I would love to have what's his name in Dallas, Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot of money when the Cowboys can't keep him. But think of this, right? Imagine a top-of-the-line play caller at the head of the Chicago Bears coaching staff that doesn't need to rely on a 60-yard field goal. And worst case, his offense gets stopped and he has to settle for a 40-yard field goal. I want King Cairo doing that.
Cairo will nail those all day, every day.
Drafted GM, Tony Moy, congratulations to you, sir.
Very weak kicker class. How do you feel about that with your Michigan kicker in there?
Michigan kicker's not in. He's going back.
Oh, he returned.
He's running it back. Yeah, we'll get the kicker next year.
Good for him. That's a good time for the Bears to draft a kicker if they want to. Only 1 year left on Cairo's contract at that point.
Man, that kicker from Michigan's good, though. I felt the same way about Jake Moody, though. Look how that turned out, so I feel terrible for him.
Hey, the Mountain West Freshman of the Year was a kicker for UNLV. And Jaden Chittenden. NFL Stadium kicking field goals, and he did the same thing that always happens. You guys you Power 4 schools, purge our best players. After his rookie year, he went to USC. Screw USC. Screw you, USC, even if Caleb came from there. Hate USC.
Who is a quarterback for UNLV? It's Mr. Orgy, isn't it?
Mr. Orgy?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Michigan had a quarterback whose last name was Orgy. I can't think of his first name, and I'm almost certain that UNLV got him.
Oh, he's our backup. Yeah, we got 4 quarterbacks.
Oh, he's going to be the backup?
Portal. Yeah, the Rebels. This isn't a Rebels pod. Well, I don't want to scream you guys off.
Come on, Tony.
But we had the 67th best recruiting class, and for a non-Power 4 school, that's pretty powerful. So. Anyways, all right, guys, we're gonna wrap this one up. I appreciate you guys all being here.
Alex Orgy, gentlemen.
Highlight from this one is we went over the salary cap a little bit, hit the running back position a little bit, but there is going to be some good stuff to come. We're going to talk not just the current team next week. This is a precursor for you guys. DeAndre Swift, Kevin Byard, Andrew Billings, Tremaine Edmonds, Marcus Walker, Gerald Everett, TJ Edwards. The contracts that could be traded or cut. Some of them, like DeAndre Swift, we didn't get too deep into the contract, but if we cut him, it makes no sense whatsoever. But just like when the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, they traded DeAndre Swift after. Rumor is we could be looking to trade DeAndre Swift after the draft to a team that didn't get their running back needs filled. Will it happen? I don't know, but that's possible because we'd only eat $2.5 million and we'd save $6.5 at that point.
A team that didn't fill their running back need via the draft in this draft class feels a bit like an oxymoron. So I anticipate DeAndre Swift being on the Chicago Bears in 2025.
I do too. I
just pray to God it's at a 35% snap percentage.
And I like your numbers there. I didn't break it down to an exact percentage, but I like your number there. 35%.
I posted a Twitter thread while I was using the bathroom, and I thought it came out pretty well.
Karl, freaking love you, man. So those are the ones. This is where we'll start next week. We're gonna have some fun going over the roster. Appreciate you guys tuning in with us. It's gonna be a lot of fun for us to be able to do this.
Chat,
Karl,
you've been fantastic. I think that's gonna be the thing that makes this fun, right? You guys know where to get your information from Mr. Adam Mason.
Is this true? I gotta before we end, I gotta hit this.
Let's see if the old Google machine is working today.
Did anyone else know Dennis Allen played for the Bears? Knowledge, I had no clue about this one. I was not aware of this.
Pro Football History feels like a better reference than Wikipedia.
Ooh, you got me excited now.
I don't know if I can confirm that, gentlemen. I just see his coaching history. I don't see a playing career.
Was he on the
Allen played safety while at college, it says.
Interesting.
I don't see anything confirming. I mean, I could go to
Wikipedia. Becoming
Wikipedia.
a top NFL defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen was a top defensive line coach. Are you talking about coaching for the Bears or playing for the Bears? We're going to have to hit this next week. We'll have to look into it.
Wikipedia says that all he did was play for the Buffalo Bills in 1996, and it says off-season and or practice squad member only. Yeah, so if you got that from Twitter, you were lied to, and if it's from Wikipedia, if your version of Wikipedia has been edited before mine,
well, it's not going to show everything. It's not going to show everything about where he could have been, a practice squad player. So we'll have to look into it.
Well, that's what Wikipedia is telling me, is just that as a player, his history is only affiliated with the Buffalo Bills in 1996, again, as only a practice squad member.
All right. We'll hit that up another time, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. Karl, we're going to make this a fun thing. We got weekly coming up, and we'll hit some more next week. You guys in the chat. Anyways, I'll give you a second, Karl, if you want to plug your channel. I'll put that immediately in the description of this video right after we're done. I'll put Karl's link in there.
Wow. It's right there for anyone who really wants it. Again, thank you very much, chat. If you want to just maybe post this one, Adam, thank you. You guys in the chat have been fantastic. If you adore my content for whatever reason and you want to see more of me, I'm going to be on the Bears Country podcast later on today at 8 o'clock. I'll be the producer. I'll be a little bit behind the scenes. And then over on the Bears Ski side of things, I do a Tuesday show with Dave Ski. We talk about general NFL news, topics, whatever the case is. Do some 2-round mock drafts. That's up recently. And I saw someone earlier in the chat said that was a fantastic show with Dave. So thank you. I want to shout out your name if I can find it. Should have wrote it down. I don't think I'm going to be able to see it, man. That's okay, though. You guys know, I thought it was Andy Anderson. Yeah, got him. Andy Anderson says, fun show with Dave Ski the other day, Karl. Thank you.
Perfect.
Very, very flattering.
Karl. Appreciate you coming on. You guys in the chat, appreciate you guys. We'll do this each Thursday. 12 weeks from now is the NFL draft. For the next 11 weeks leading up to the draft, we're going to do this. We're going to have some fun with it. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Karl, thank you again. Till next time.
And thank you for having me.
Of course. And bear down.
Bear down.